Let's begin our discussion by defining the term globally oriented leadership. I define globally oriented leadership as acting responsibly to improve the socio-economic status of humankind while preserving the natural resources of our planet. Within this definition, there are 4 attributes of a globally oriented leader that are very important, regardless of whether you work in business, government, education, healthcare, or the nonprofit sector. The 4 attributes are the following. Number 1, the leader as the champion of vision and values. Number 2, the leader as the change agent. Number 3, the leader as the global marketer. And number 4, the leader as the team builder. And I think these 4 aspects of leadership apply throughout our society, regardless of whether you serve in government, business, education, healthcare, or the not-for-profit sector. All sectors of our economy need leaders who can inspire people to live their dreams and believe in a world that is built on the values of justice and respect for all people. Frankly, I do not think it is possible for any organization to grow in today's vibrant international marketplace unless its leaders are skilled practitioners in the art of global leadership. This means that leaders, especially senior leadership, must understand the customs, cultures, and languages of their clients. They must be technically savvy in the use of the internet in order to expand their business beyond their borders. The wonderful thing about globalization is that if you have a good idea, it could be offering a new university course or a new concept for a restaurant in Miami or a better way to deliver information via the internet. You can grow your business from a 1-store operation in Guadalajara to 25 stores around the world in a very short time. And you do not need to be among the Fortune 500's largest global companies in order to make a difference. Let me offer 3 examples of upstart companies that are recognized today as global leaders, thanks to the vision and drive of their founders. The first is Starbucks, which under Chief Executive Officer Howard Schultz has enjoyed continued success since launching its first coffee bar in Seattle, Washington in 1978. In 2007, Starbucks will open 2,400 new retail stores, bringing it closer to its goal of 40,000 stores worldwide. Currently, Starbucks operates in 37 countries, and it is hiring over 300 new employees every day to staff its retail stores. One of the things that makes Starbucks attractive to the new generation of consumers is that Starbucks has both a mission statement for its business as well as an environmental mission statement. My second example is a small but growing company named Patagonia, based in Ventura, California, which specializes in manufacturing clothing and gear for people who enjoy adventurous sports, such as surfing, climbing, running, fly fishing, and paddling. As Patagonia's founder and CEO, Yvon Chouinard, likes to say, we enjoy silent, human-powered sports done in nature where the reward involves no audience and no prize other than hard-won grace. These entail risk, require soul, and invite reflection. They bring us closer to the natural world and to ourselves, unquote. Patagonia is a company that started when Yvon Chouinard started forging pitons in his parents' garage to help rock climbers use sturdier grips in mountain rocks. Today, Patagonia, which is named after the beautiful region in Argentina, has more than 15 stores and many independent retail dealers around the world. My third and final example is the company Semco SA, based in Sao Paulo, Brazil, best known for its radical form of industrial democracy and corporate re-engineering. Now, under its CEO, Ricardo Semler, Semco's revenues have grown to more than $225 million US, and Semler's innovative business management policies have attracted widespread interest all around the world. Here is how Charles Handy, the British management expert and social philosopher, recently described Semco's management and operational philosophy, and I quote, "Semco's 3,000 employees set their own work hours and pay levels. Subordinates hire and review their supervisors. Hammocks are scattered about the grounds for afternoon naps, and employees are encouraged to spend Monday morning at the beach if they spent Saturday afternoon at the office. There are no organization charts, no 5-year plans, no corporate value statements, no dress code, and no written rules or policy statements beyond a brief survival manual in comic book form that introduces new hires to Semco's unusual ways. The employees elect the corporate leadership and initiate most of Semco's moves into new businesses and out of old ones. Of the 3,000 votes at the company, CEO Ricardo Semler has just one. If you haven't visited Semco's brilliant website at the address that we'll show you on the screen, I encourage you to do so. Semco's website has relaxing Brazilian music and a very contemporary feel to it. The website content is very global and de-emphasizes the traditional, boring corporate look. On Semco's website, you can read Semco's philosophy. And let me state it for you. Quote, "Our philosophy is built on participation and involvement. Don't settle down. Give opinions. Seek opportunities and advancement. Always say what you think. Don't be just one more person in the company." Now, I cite these 3 diverse but successful companies because they represent a new age in global leadership. An age where leaders are assuming more responsibility for the welfare and success of their people, greater concern for safety on the job, and a commitment to grow their businesses responsibly while protecting our planet. Having said this, I believe such companies represent the exception rather than the rule, because the profit motive is so perverse among investors, shareholders, and corporate executives that companies are easily tempted to take shortcuts that violate laws and abuse the environment. So this is why state and federal governments in all nations must remain vigilant in making sure corporations adhere to the laws and regulations. And when companies commit serious violations, there must be severe jail sentences for the company leaders and board members, as well as stiff financial penalties against those companies to ensure future violations do not occur. Certainly, Starbucks, Patagonia, and Semco embrace all of the four attributes of a globally oriented leader. But let's examine each of the four attributes more closely to see how we can put these concepts to work in your organization. First of all, let's talk about the leader as change agent or innovator. I think in every industry, change and innovation are vital to the continued success and growth of an organization. Even in government, people demand change and improvements. And when a government is not responsive to the will of the people, that government is voted out of power. In business, consumers also cast a vote with their hard-earned money. We only need to look as far as the auto industry to see how temperamental consumers truly are. In the United States, General Motors and Ford Motor Company are scrambling to catch up with Toyota and Nissan. In Europe, BMW and Daimler Chrysler are also watching closely as consumers insist on greater fuel-efficient cars with more high-tech bells and whistles. Nowadays, consumers basically want a car that drives itself while we talk on our cell phones and read our emails. I'm fascinated that a company like Starbucks could take something as simple as a cup of coffee and through innovation and changing consumer patterns, create a new industry based on coffee as an experience, not just a beverage to get you through the day. The second attribute that we're going to talk about is the leader as the global marketer. Nowhere is leadership more visible in terms of global marketing than in the travel and tourism industry. 10 years ago, everybody wanted to visit Las Vegas, Rio de Janeiro, or Acapulco. Today, as a result of the internet, travel magazines, and television, tourists are flocking to countries and destinations most people had never imagined they would want to visit 10 years ago. I'm talking about countries like Costa Rica, Russia, and remote islands in Indonesia, which seem to be very popular among the under 40 generation. If you were a leader in the travel, meetings, or tourism business, what does a destination need to do in order to attract more visitors? Let me tell you how 3 European cities put themselves on the map as favorite destinations by mastering the art of global marketing. The cities are St. Petersburg, Russia, Barcelona, Spain, and Budapest, Hungary. Very briefly, each of these cities made a sizable investment in its future, knowing that the tourism and meetings industries are businesses that attract major dollars and enrich the culture and vitality of any city. The political and tourism leaders in these 3 cities created plans to make their cities the preferred meetings and destination place in their country. As part of their plan, they secured the necessary financial investment and commitments from companies and government agencies to build the necessary infrastructure to accommodate tourists and meeting delegates. I'm referring to such projects as building hotels and refurbishing major tourist attractions and building a viable transportation system. Once the infrastructure was in place, these 3 cities spent money to create an advertising and marketing campaign to attract visitors. Eventually, these marketing campaigns caught the attention of a few important travel industry leaders. And by 1998, the internet and word-of-mouth experiences were driving thousands of tourists and meeting professionals to visit these 3 beautiful destinations. What I have noticed with each of these cities is how they successfully branded themselves as a unique destination while offering the very best of hospitality and recreational adventures. When you visit these cities, as I have, you will appreciate how easy it is to travel from one place to another. You will also feel safe because of the presence of police officers and security people. These types of issues help a destination exceed the expectations of visitors. So the message here is simply this. Once you brand your city as a wonderful place to visit, you need to deliver on your marketing campaign and create a powerful message that attracts people to you. Certainly, these cities and their leaders have demonstrated their ability as global marketers, and their travel and tourism related businesses have reaped the benefits of global marketing. Our third attribute is the leader as the team builder. The more I study and research globalization, the more I'm convinced that globally oriented leaders need a strong team to help them succeed. While this is true in general, I think it is especially true when you consider the importance of working in a global environment. Strong teams are essential. If you examine your country's list of the best companies to work for, and by the way, most countries now have such a list, I think you will find a common trait among those best companies to work for. Each year, Fortune magazine publishes several such lists, including the best companies to work for in the United States. And the company that was ranked #1 for 2007 was Google. I think everyone has either heard of Google or uses its powerful search engines. I know I did in preparing today's talk to you. Second on the list is Genentech, a drug development and research company based in San Francisco, California. But the surprising entry, which was third on the list of best companies to work for in the United States, is a grocery store that most people outside of Rochester, New York, and a few mid-Atlantic states have never heard of. It's named Wegmans Food Markets. While these 3 companies, Google, Genentech, and Wegmans Food Markets, are uniquely different, interestingly enough, Google and Genentech are truly global companies. And Wegmans Food Markets has seized the opportunity to expand its presence from a single grocery store and dairy location to a regional presence along the Mid-Atlantic region of the United States. But certainly, the one common denominator I found in researching these companies is that they all pride themselves on hiring a diverse cross-section of people who are strong team players. Companies that perform as a team consistently outproduce and out-innovate their competition. I think you can look at any of the best companies to work for in your country, and you will find that those companies pride themselves on building a diverse and effective workforce. And they also invest time and money on developing teams and work teams at all levels of their organization. Finally, the fourth attribute of a global leader is protecting the traditions and values of the organization. I have a favorite expression I like to use when talking about change, and I think it is very appropriate in today's discussion because so much of what we need to consider when we talk about globally oriented leadership is based on change. And that axiom is this: the more things change, the more they stay the same. I think one of the most important challenges leaders will face as the globalization movement evolves is this issue of preserving the traditions and values of the organization. My sense is that people need an identity, and large companies and universities and government agencies are no different. This is one important way that universities maintain support from their graduates. During the past few months, I have studied companies in Mexico such as Cemex, Comisión Federal de Electricidad, or CFE, and America Telecom. While these are large companies that employ thousands of people, they remain steeped in traditions and strong values. A company like Semco, who we talked about earlier, which has its roots in Brazil, cherishes its customs and traditions that are important to the people who work there. I think traditions and values provide employees with a sense of belonging and helps create a stronger sense of team and pride. This is also true when you look at companies like Federal Express or UPS. Although these companies are headquartered in the United States, their international operations, whether it is in Mexico, Colombia, or Spain, operates as a unique business with their own company culture in order to preserve the values and traditions of its employees and national pride. Those values and traditions include everything from holidays and religious holy days that are celebrated in a certain country to the language and work customs of that country. Having said this, there are some universal traditions and values that most companies adhere to. For example, we have already talked about the importance of going green in order to protect the environment. Most companies have followed the lead of General Electric, or GE, not because they were particularly motivated to preserve our natural resources, but because they realized it was a good profit center. And it also was in alignment with most consumers or customers who want to support businesses that act responsibly. Another example is the growing ban on smoking in airplanes, buildings, and public areas. This action is in direct response to the efforts of health activists who have lobbied companies and governments for years to ban smoking in order to reduce negative health risk from secondhand smoke. Their lobbying efforts are finally beginning to show positive results. No matter where you look, you will see people acting as activists to improve the quality of life, not just for people, but for all living species. Every day, we read stories of doctors and healthcare workers trying to curb the AIDS epidemic in Africa, or forestry workers trying to preserve the Amazon forest, or activists working to remove landmines in war-torn regions of the world. I think this is a healthy trend, and over the next few years, I believe you will witness a significant increase in funding by a number of companies that are reinvesting their profits in schools, communities, and devastated regions like New Orleans and Indonesia. While their motives might be profit-driven, in the final analysis, most people want to do the right thing. And they also want to work for a company or an organization that makes them feel good about the work they perform. In closing, let me say that these are dynamic times we live in. It is a time unlike any other age we have experienced. And our children will reap the benefits of a world changed for the better through travel, language, advanced technology, product innovation, and the expansion of the free marketplace. But all of this is contingent upon globally oriented leaders who think and act responsibly. I hope you're excited for the future. I certainly am. Let us together encourage and contribute to the development and practice of global competencies at all levels, in education, business, government, and civil society, particularly among top decision makers and leaders, to ensure that their key strategies, tactics, and actions are more globally oriented. Thank you very much.